know, when you love something, you have to let it go, and if it comes back, then you know that it was meant to be. Back like it never left. Say hello to the new Toyota Land Cruiser. After a 3-year hiatus, the legend returns to the States. But before we dive into this icon, let's talk some history. The Land Cruiser was first introduced to the US market in 1958, and contrary to what you may think, Toyota only sold 1 unit in its first year. Yes, 1. But when the 40 Series Land Cruiser arrived with its solid front and rear axles on leaf springs, short overhangs, boxy look with a flat white roof, Toyota grille, and fold-down front windshield, popularity for the Land Cruiser began to gain momentum. So much that consumers wanted it bigger, and the 55 and 60 Series Land Cruisers gave you that bigger look. And this evolution continued to the outgoing 200 Series model, which was a full-size off-road luxury SUV that Toyota decided to stop selling in the US in 2021. But hey, don't worry, the Land Cruiser is making its triumphant return and it's bringing something a little different this time around. Yes, the Land Cruiser dons the Beyond Zero badge as it's part of Toyota's move toward a carbon-neutral future. So what does that mean? Well, that means this SUV comes exclusively with an iForce Max engine, which is a turbocharged 2.4-liter 4-cylinder engine paired to a 48 horsepower electric motor, which altogether puts out a combined 326 horsepower and 465 pound-feet of torque, linked to an 8-speed automatic transmission. There's no big honking V8 in here, but it does make more torque than the outgoing 200 series, and it could tow up to 6,000 pounds. We don't know fuel economy numbers just yet, but we do know this seats up to 5 passengers, rides on Toyota's TGNA-F body-on-frame truck platform, and all models have full-time 4-wheel drive with a standard center-locking differential and electronically controlled 2-speed transfer case with high-low range. There's also a standard electronic locking rear differential that can split power 50-50 between the rear wheels and an electronic limited slip differential. And yes, for those that are wondering, this is 1.2 inches shorter and 4.4 inches more narrow than the outgoing 200 series, just to make it a bit more nimble on the trails. And Toyota wanted to get back to their roots and continue the legacy of the Land Cruiser being a durable off-road icon. Its boxy shape and available two-tone paint is a nod to past generations, and the A-pillars have been pushed back not only to complement the look, but also provide better outward visibility. Overall, the Land Cruiser has an approach angle of up to 31 degrees, a max departure up to 22 degrees, breakover angle reaches 25 degrees, and there's up to 8.7 inches of ground clearance. There's a new double wishbone front suspension with twin tube shocks paired to a multi-link rear suspension with coil springs, and higher trims will have an available front stabilizer bar disconnect that will increase flex with the press of a button. And if you're one of those folks that send it just a little bit too hard, buddy, well, these recovery points come standard. Moving inside, the Land Cruiser looks up to date and has a modern feel, but since there's no third row, let's see how this big boxy SUV accommodates occupants. In the driver's position, the seats are comfortable. However, I wish it slid back a little bit farther on its rails. I'm 6'4", and I feel like I don't have much leg room for just everyday cruising, but the steering wheel column is adjustable electronically, and I got some good headspace as well. And the materials in here are nice and soft, a nice soft inboard armrest. Outboard, ooh, not so much, but overall it feels nice and comfortable. The steering wheel feels good, and I like these knee pads on the bottom for when you're doing some really gnarly stuff off-road. But overall, yeah, this checks out. Just a little bit more leg space. Up front, there's also an available 12.3-inch infotainment screen using the latest Toyota audio multimedia system, and higher trims get the multi-terrain monitor, which displays potential obstacles on the screen. Overall, the cabin has a fine build quality with nice materials throughout. I'm so happy the Land Cruiser is up to date on the times with the technology and the digital screen, and The volume knob, oh, it's just so great. But I really like the layout. Everything is easy to operate. You got knobs and buttons for your HVAC controls. And you also get your USB-C ports right here and wireless charging, easy to access. I wish there was some more storage space somewhere, like maybe on the side or even here on the dash, but overall, the layout checks out. In the rear, passengers get standard air vents and USB connectivity, and higher trims get HVAC controls. But how does it feel to sit back there? In the back seat, the front seat is as far back on its rails as it can go, and I like how the back of the seat kind of goes in because, again, I'm 6'4", and I still have a little bit of leg room, but I am touching the back of the seats. However, my feet fit under the seat just fine, and I have a good amount of headroom, and the seats have a little bit of recline on them, which is nice, and they also have these armrests that don't have a pull tab, but they're really soft. And you have your control center for your HVAC controls and some USB-C ports. I mean, yeah, I could do a little stint back here. This is good. And for shorter people, this is even better. Out back, the Land Cruiser has a decent amount of cargo space. We don't have cargo numbers just yet, but there is an available power liftgate. Oh, and look, there's a button to open up the rear glass. We always like that. The Land Cruiser will come in 3 models, or grades if you will. The 1958 Land Cruiser, and a first edition that's limited to just 5,000 units to North America. The 1958 grade will include 18-inch wheels with all-season tires, 17-inch disc brakes front and rear, Toyota Heritage grille, round LED headlamps, LED fog lights, digital gauge cluster, 8-inch infotainment screen with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, 6-speaker audio system, cloth seating with manually adjustable heated front seats, and a heated steering wheel. The self-titled, quote, Land Cruiser model will include rectangular LED headlamps, rigid color selectable LED fog lights, larger all-season tires, front stabilizer bar disconnect, power operated liftgate, a bigger digital gauge cluster, 12.3-inch touchscreen, multi-terrain select and multi-terrain monitor, and Softex heated and ventilated power adjustable seats. And the limited first edition model has the round headlights and adds a roof rack, roof rails, a front skid plate, mud flaps, and leather heated and ventilated seats. There's also an available premium package which adds a moonroof, 14-speaker JBL audio system, power heated and ventilated leather trim seats with lumbar support, and more. All models will have Toyota's Safety Sense 3.0 standard, and that includes proactive driving assist, lane tracing assist, dynamic radar cruise control, lane departure warning with steering assist, and pre-collision with pedestrian detection. Toyota says this is going to start in the mid $50,000 range, so when time comes to buy, go on kbb.com and get a fair purchase price. kbb.com, click the link above for more details. Toyota believes that the pricing for the new Land Cruiser will make it more accessible for consumers so they can have an experience with their vehicle off the beaten path. This legend of an SUV will be built in Japan at Toyota's Tahara and Nino plants and will arrive in the States in the spring of 2024. The Legend is back, and yeah, there's been a few changes, but with a lower price point and all of its new features, I mean, I can't wait to get this thing off-road or off the display.